Hello again, everybody. It is Takedown. Scott Casper. Coach Kevin Jacks at Iowa State's head man joins us now from his office on the campus of Iowa State University. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you for joining us, taking the time. It is Black History Month, Coach. Two or three topics I wanted to cover. The first being Black History Month. You're one of several African American coaches in the ranks of wrestling. What are your thoughts about where we've come from over the last 30 to 40 years since Dr. King, since we've made some steps forward. Where are we at, Coach?
Well, I mean, it's just one. It just would be one man's opinion. But when you say several African American coaches, I think that's true when you cross the lines of Division two, three, NAIA, junior college. But as far as Division one is concerned, I would definitely say we are the vast minority still, with myself, Coach Sean Charles, Carl Adams, knowing that Boston is in a tough situation at this point. Very, very few
Kerry
African
McCoy.
Americans that are coaching at the Division one level.
Yeah, I was just mentioning Kerry McCoy at Boston.
Yeah, I can't forget my old student, Kerry McCoy.
At Maryland, pardon me. So, Maryland, Boston, Arizona State, Iowa State. But you're right. For the large part, African Americans represent a very small or a minority. But there was a time when there were none.
Yeah, I think Bobby Douglas set the trend. I think Bobby was a pioneer. I don't think, as a legend of the sport, that he is recognized for the things that he's brought to the sport, for the accomplishments that he's had at Arizona State and at Iowa State, and really was probably the number one reason I'm probably sitting in my chair now. Is Coach Douglas, and what he did at the Division one wrestling level. So, a lot of thought and thanks have to go out to him. But we're continuing to evolve and we're continuing to grow, just like our society, and I think it's going to continue to move in the proper direction.
And it will take more assistant coaches that are of color to offer up opportunity for head coaching positions. And again, you mentioned it. While we are seeing about the same for the last couple of years at the Division one level, we are seeing growth of African American coaches at Division two, three, NAI, JUCO, etc. And from those ranks, perhaps, do you believe that's where our next Division one coaches will come from?
Well, I think you'll have a few. I mean, I think it's very difficult um, in Division one right now with only having 70 plus programs. There's not going to be a whole lot of change unless coaches decide to step down after so many years, or you have a program that has the expectations of an Iowa State, and are fulfilling those expectations, and you'll possibly get some change. But obviously, through the Olympic ranks, through the um, uh, uh, um, college ranks, where you start hiring your minority coaches into those assistant positions, will give more opportunities for African Americans and other minorities to possibly be head coaches in the near future.
We're talking with Coach Kevin Jackson. He's now making his home in Ames, Iowa, the head coach of Iowa State and the Cyclones. Coach, let's talk a bit about the weekend, in as much as this is a big time for the Cyclones and the balance of the teams around the country preparing for conference championships, and then, of course, the trip to Oklahoma City in March. It was a rough weekend for the Cyclones of Iowa State against the University of Northern Iowa and the Panthers, 24-13, the final score. I guess I don't have a whole lot of questions for you other than perhaps tell us what happened over the weekend.
Well, they're a pretty good team. I mean, they have some athletes that are ranked pretty high, and I think where they were really strong, we were young. When you look at 133 pounds, we have a redshirt sophomore, and they have an athlete that's ranked number one in the country, and basically he was just that much better than us. He really outmanned us and got a tech fall, getting 5 team points. When you look at 141, obviously they have a senior ranked in the top 10 against a freshman that we're throwing out there in Gabe Marino. And again, they get bonus points in that weight class. 184, we're throwing a freshman out against a senior. So they matched up real well, and dual meets are all matchups for the most part. I mean, I'm not sure if you can hang your hat on how you're going to how your results are going to be at the NCAA tournament. I know that's more in an individual tournament where you can get some guys on the roll and you can place pretty high when you look at a team like Arizona State that had 2 champions and ended up, I think, 4th or 5th in the country that year. So they matched up really well. I think on paper, I think it should have came out 5-5. We're winning 6-0 at 149 pounds and find a way to give that matchup. And that was disappointing to see that happen because obviously we recognized where the matchup issues were. We knew we couldn't give up bonus points where we were matched up against guys that are pretty good. So we did give those bonus points up. And then obviously not securing the victory, when we had a chance at 149 up by 6 points, definitely is disappointing. But obviously, you talk about rough weekends, you talk about whatever. It's all a process. It's all trying to be your very best at the Big 12 championships and the NCAA. We take it all in stride, not to say that we're not severely disappointed, but I can promise our Cyclone fans there'll be another day in Hilton Coliseum next year that they'll want to come out and enjoy.
8-6 was the final score at 149. And you were right; you were up 6-0, and for them to come back and win by 2, 8-6 in the Gettle Patton match. What can you tell us what happened in that bout? How did it?
Well,
swing?
I think our fans and I think people that have been watching our program long enough recognize that we're not as consistent as we can be in that weight class. You can't tell me that, and I take responsibility for it, but you can't tell me that we're capable of beating a Kendrick Maple, and then we're not capable of beating basically a walk-on kid when we're up by 6 points. And so, I'm not sure. Me and Luke had a long conversation yesterday. Hopefully, it puts him back on track to have a good performance here at the national duels. Our guys are big boys. I mean, our guys are we're trying to mature young men into full-fledged men that handle responsibility. So I have no problem communicating with you and communicating with Luke or whoever else about where he's at in the process and where we're at with him in the process. So what happened is he just did not continue to compete in positions that he could win or that he should win. We gave up reversals, which is a mistake. We gave up back points, which is another mistake that just can't happen at the Division I level. And so that's how it happens. That's how you end up losing those kind of matches, is you don't compete in every single position and you don't think through a certain situation. We still were in on a leg to tie the match up and send it in overtime, and I'm betting on Luke in overtime because he has a better offense than the athlete. So it's a constant process. We got to continue to develop. We got to continue to work. We're going to continue to build what we're building, and I'm really looking forward to not only this year, the end of this year, where we'll be at our best, but you look at our team and you look at our lineup. There's going to be some strong changes with who is our starters in some of our weight classes next year. So I know what we have and know what we're building, and obviously it's no fun losing to a team that you've beaten 10 times in a row. But obviously sometimes that happens.
No, and you're right. It was a a 10-match win streak by you guys since the last time they competed and won. Let's talk, before I talk about the obvious Kyvan Gadsden, I want to talk to you about Leland Witherspoon. This young man shows so much promise. Wrestles against number 5 ranked Ryan Loader of UNI. Where is Leland at developmentally? Where is he at as far as your opinion?
Well, we've sent him up to 84. The challenge for that spot. Obviously, Bo is just, he had some injuries and he's had some health issues, but I'm pretty confident that he's almost 100% back as well. But Leland continues to develop. He's not a full-fledged 184-pounder, but he competes real well at the weight class. You look at a Loader who's an All-American, who's a fifth-year senior, who's undefeated, and we lose 5-0, and the guy gets 5 minutes of riding time or 4 minutes of riding time, something like that. And no one's called for stalling. So I don't know who was actually stalling, but, Leland has to develop his mat wrestling skills where he can get away from anyone, which he must be able to do. We have to finalize our go-to attacks when we want to score, when we need to score. He's still a supreme competitor. And sometimes we forget that he's a redshirt freshman that has had very little national competition in his past, but that has no bearing on his confidence level and how he competes. And so, I know you've been following us for a while, Scott, and we got a couple guys in the chute that you're gonna see the same things out of as redshirt freshmen next year.
Yeah,
And then you got the John Meeks returning too. So I think we know what to expect out of him.
I think Kyvan Gadsden is my next topic du jour, if you will. He's number 1 or number 2 in the country at 97. When he is 100% healthy, it's hard to stop the smoothness that is Kyvan Gadsden. He doesn't have that explosive, that's all I got. He has that smooth power that'll take you from the first whistle all the way to the end, and then some. Kyvan Gadsden's fun to watch when he's on his game. Where's he at? In his head, where's he at this season?
He's right on track. I mean, he continues to push the envelope in the practice room, which I think is a key to all of our success. Continuing to develop and continue to set the tone and the intensity and the energy level that it takes to have those great performances in matches. His offensive output, his attack rate has definitely gone very, very high over the last several matches. It's going to need to continue to do that as we head to the national duels this weekend, and then as we get Minnesota in our gym for our last home duel meet. So he continues to move forward. He continues to lead by example, and he's really becoming a vocal leader as well. One that is very important in our programs and in our overall development.
Trio of those Cyclones in the middle of it, 57, John Nicholson. How good can he be?
He can be pretty good. He's got all the skills. He's got all the intangibles. I think he just has to continue to get his matches in and continue to think about scoring points. Every now and then he thinks about just wearing his opponent down and physically dominating them. But he does have all the skills necessary to beat, I'd say, a lot of guys. So he's got to continue to push that envelope. He's got to continue to stay healthy, and I think he'll really, really surprise some people as we come down the stretch here.
Mike Moreno defeated Cooper Moore, and that was a number 10 versus number 11. I think pretty fair estimation as far as the rankings go, 9-6 the score. But Mike Moreno, what do we have to do to get him firing on all cylinders, Coach?
Well, I think he.
You guys are busy up there.
I think he did this weekend, second and third period. He just needs to move his hands and feet a little bit faster and get his attacks off a little bit earlier. Continue to tighten down his counter offense and explode off the bottom a little bit more. But Mike is mentally there. He's physically there. He's focused. He competes at a very, very high level, and that will continue. And so we just look forward to him continuing to sharpen up as we move into the Big 12s and the NCAA tournament. And like I said, it's a process. He'll continue to go out there and give 100% effort. And if you give us 100% effort, we feel pretty good about your chances to win. But we know that we can walk away with our head high no matter what the results are, and we can improve upon that performance. So that's the kind of guy Mike is. And if you watch him wrestle and you've seen it, a large percentage of the time that leads to the victory.
And finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tanner Weatherman. Like this kid a lot. He's always got that kind of a little playful smile around. I'm going to beat you. I just don't know how, but I'm going to beat you. And I don't know if that's good enough for number 8, maybe even good enough for number 6. But he's the kind of kid that really wants to win.
Yeah, he really does, and he's really tied in into the way he has to compete, needs to compete, and to really give himself a chance to be on the podium at the NCAA tournament. That's the toughest weight class in the country, hands down. The very, very toughest, most talented weight class in the country is 174. He's right in the mix with the rest of those guys. He's really improved in his must-win positions, and if he stays in his offense, finishes his attacks, he can wrestle with anybody, and he's proven that to this point, and he's only gotten better. Leland Weatherspoon challenging him for that spot has definitely opened him up to moving forward in the best way he possibly can, and we're very, very happy with where he's at right now, and we haven't even had our best match out of him yet. So that's to be expected as we move into the heart of the season.
KJ, close it up. What do you want to tell the Cyclone faithful out there?
Keep the faith. Keep the faith. Keep coming out to our matches. Make sure you attend the national or the Big 12 championship in Norman, Oklahoma. The NCAA championship in Oklahoma City. If you haven't locked into Cyclone Wrestling Club and their website for more information, please do so. We'll give you insight and information about the program that you might not always get a chance to hear or see. Communicating about who we have coming through the pipe and also where we're at in our overall process of what we're moving forward to towards NCAA championship.
NWCA National Duels, Columbus, Ohio, Coach, coming up 16th and 17th. Expectations real quick before we let you go?
Pain, compete, get after it.
Enough said. Coach KJ, Kevin Jackson, we appreciate you taking the time. I know you're running late to a meeting, but thanks, man. And also thanks for the commentary on Black History Month as well. We appreciate that.
Thanks for everything you do, Scott.
You bet.